Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the go-to platform where faith-driven entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts share their stories, wisdom, and expertise to inspire and impact others. This isn't just another interview series. This is a strategic platform designed to amplify the voices of high-level entrepreneurs, which especially includes kingdom entrepreneurs who are making a real difference in their industries. My goal is simple: to serve you, the expert, by giving you a stage to share your message, expand your reach, and create lasting value for others. Through authentic, in-depth conversations, we uncover the real journeys, challenges, and victories behind today's leading experts. Each interview isn't just content. It's a powerful asset that helps you to establish authority, increase visibility, and connect with the right people. So with that, let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another expert interview with Ken. And today I have a very special guest, Justin, and he is a high-ticket sales strategist and creator of the One-Day Payday system, helping experts, coaches, entrepreneurs, especially veterans, generate consistent cash flow without buying into costly franchises or waiting years for that lucky break. He is a former Army officer turned business builder. Justin teaches how to install high conversion virtual events that turn 6 to 7 figure years into 6 to 7 figure days without sales calls, complex funnels, or burnout. His mission: equip driven entrepreneurs with the tools to launch, scale, and profit fast and sustainably. And I really like that last word there, sustainably, because that is something that I teach in my program, is sustainability. So welcome, Justin. I am really, really excited for our conversation that we're going to have today. And so here's how I want to start this. I want to start by you unpacking your story. How did you get here? Unpack like all the things. Why is this such a passion for you today? So the mic is yours.
Well, thank you, Ken. Well, first and foremost, let me say thank you for having me on. I mean, you do awesome, amazing things. So how you helping people to transform their lives and
Thank you.
leading from example. And obviously, you're sharing out like this, this expert series. And so I feel honored to be here. So thank you for having
Honored to
me,
have you,
first
my
and
friend.
foremost. And I think that sometimes it's hard to see our stories as unique. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I think that what I'd like to share with is like I went on that journey like I think many people do. When you're young and you didn't know what you wanted to do when you grew up, right? I think if everybody can remember that. Can you remember back to that, Ken, when you were like in high school and like the whole world was in front of you and everybody's go make something of yourself and maybe you already knew what you wanted to do, right? But I didn't. I was
Yeah,
just kind
I
of
had
going
no
through
clue.
things, right? So, and I think most people's life, and I think my life was like it's like water, right? You kind of just go where the opening lets you go, right? And then
Yes.
you kind of find yourself on a path, and it's challenging to make changes to that. I was similar in that I had a great upbringing here in Texas. Got an opportunity to go to college, and I was in I got a scholarship to go, ROTC and join the military. Had a fantastic military career for 5 years. Did awesome things as an officer. I could go. I have all kinds of stories about that. But this is kind of the point where I had that moment of like, now what to
Right.
do. So I left after 5 years and decided I'm going to go into the corporate world and you know spun my wheels for about 4 years amongst three different companies, just going, why are they all terrible? And that's not really what I thought. I was going like, why isn't it fitting? And I realized I had to do kind of that inner work to figure out what I really wanted to do. And I found that for me the answer to that was I wanted to get into the ability to help other people. I don't know, the audience here, like where they are. I come from a background of I've got a military raised, but I also come from a Christian background, so we have certain types of values
Woohoo.
about taking ownership over our lives, and I really do feel that like the scripture says that we are called to be fruitful and multiply,
Amen.
and I wanted to be my multiplication. While I do have kids, it's beyond kids. I wanted to help other people be the best versions of themselves, and so I got into coaching. And for those who maybe aren't in an expert style business or haven't been a professional coach, it's got its own learning system of how to do that as a business, right? Some people get lucky, and it just works right off the bat. I was not one of those people, even though I had a heartfelt mission and I wanted to help other people. I said, "Hey, I know how to be organized. I know how to be a leader. I know how to do all these things." And I see people asking questions like that, and I can go hang my shingle, and I can be a professional coach. But the truth is that a lot of people, it's just something that was foreign to them at the time. It's a little bit more common now. And like with anybody who starts a business, you start to realize it's more than just the craft.
Hmm.
It's, I now have to be a marketer. I now have to be a salesperson.
Hmm.
I now have to be everything in this business. And now I will work twice as hard to grow a business than if I had just kept my corporate gig. Yeah. And with the idea is that there's this freedom going in there. And I always like to see like, hey, what's an easier way to do things, right? In the military, they teach us to have structure and like what's the best way to give ourselves a chance to succeed, right? If
Right.
you haven't read some of the documents in the field, man, if you're not former military, a lot of people think it's just like, oh, they're just like Rambo and they just go in there and like nobody just goes in guns a blazing. Like that's not how it works, right? There are parameters they do because we do take seriously, contrary to popular belief, like we do actually take seriously the lives of our soldiers. And so we don't just go do things willy nilly. And it's the same thing in business. I always wanted to find out what's the quicker, easier way to do things. And back when I first started, I used to just go meet people, right? Like the idea of even being on Zoom was foreign. This would have been even in 2017 or whenever I started doing this. Like I just didn't do that. I went and actually physically met people to see if I could coach them, if I could help them with growing their business or, optimizing their life or whatever it is they needed help with. And that went really well for me. I was really good at that. Challenges are obviously, if you've ever done anything like that, is it takes time. Right? You got
Hmm.
to go meet people, you got to go do things.
Yes.
And the reason for that was because I was very resistant to being online. I don't love to post about myself. I don't like to take pictures of my meals and share them out there. It's not my
Yep.
favorite thing to do. I don't even love to write content, even today, right? If you went and looked on my socials, like I don't post like every day at 9 and then every day again at 3 and then a short and all this other stuff, right? Like it's just not my wheelhouse, right? And again, all power to you if that's working for you. It's just not for me. It's nothing I wanted to do. Um, but again, like everybody had happened to them, I experienced COVID happened, right? And like my main way of marketing my business was taken away from me.
Mm.
I had no choice but to be online. The other challenge I was having was when it comes to like, say, like a life coaching offer, which was effectively what my offer was back then. Most people don't know what they need, similar to how they don't know what they want to do when they grow up, right? They don't know what the challenges are that they're having. They're just in pain. And so it takes a discovery process. And so you're going to strangers and you're setting up a sample coaching session and taking them through the discovery process and then making an offer to continue that process at the end of it. And so I was doing like 10 to 20 sample sessions per week for like an hour or hour and a half, let alone the clients that I was then working with. Right. So there's all these things happening to all once. And then it was taken away and business was drying up to do that because I had no way to market myself. So I
Right.
go online and I also didn't like the fact that I would do 10 sessions to maybe get one client. That's a lot. It's like 10 hours of
Right. It is.
doing this, right? And maybe get one sale. It's a lot of effort. And now the efforts are great. Again, like we've talked about high ticket, right? It's usually you would make a big sale because you're going to commit yourself to helping somebody much more intimately. But it was challenging and it was hard. And so when I went online, I said, "Oh, I don't know how to do this." I didn't like doing Zoom sessions very much. And I said, "Well, I just don't want to do this and have like constant strategy sessions again. So I had a mentor of mine say, hey, well, since it's really hard to do that, why don't you just give it away? Why don't you just do something where you can show everybody you can help them by actually helping them?
Mm.
And I was like, okay, well, what would that look like? And he said, well, just do your entire coaching program in a weekend and just invite people to it for free. Like this was like, I was like, okay, I guess I'll try that. Why not? Like nothing else is working for me. And I can't get in front of everybody because of COVID. And so I did it. And I went to every organization that I'd been connected to, and I told them I was going to do this. And I said, hey, anybody who would like help, effectively being a better version of themselves. It was even super vague and woo woo. Like I don't even now I would look back on it and cringe at the copy that I put
Right.
out there. Um, I said, hey, I'm going to take you through this. And I was a high performance coach, and I was like, I'm going to help you be better performers. And I literally did. Like I used to have a curriculum, and it was like 10 sessions, and then I had like kind of two bonus ones. And instead of like one-on-one, I literally took people through my curriculum over 2 full days on Zoom with 11 people there. And two of them were my friends. So I just invited them. I say, hey, come to this, like, and just like be in the room
Come
and
support
cheer
me.
me on. Right. Cheer me on. Like you can participate, but don't worry. Like nothing, like no pressure or anything, like just be there. And I did do it. And I went through the full 2 days, and I made an invitation, said like, hey, if you're interested, I'd be happy to work with you. Fill out this application. And wouldn't you know it, at the end of the 2 days, this would have been in February of 2020, right? Um, 5 people signed up to work with me
Wow.
at the end of 2 days. And I went, man, I used to like take me like a whole month if I was really good to get 5 people to say yes. And I would have to like do a discovery call, follow up with them, get them back on another one, sign up, send out a contract, see if wait for them to pull the trigger, right? And all these things would be perfect. And here it was. I took out of 9 people that were new to me, newish to me, at least 5 of them said yes after 2 days that I was online with them. And I was like, oh, my mind was blown. It was like, and it was way more fun than individual strategy sessions. I had no follow up to do. It was just next steps. And then I was in another group with people, and I was telling them about what I did. And somebody said, can you help me do that? And I was like, I could try. Let's do it. So I helped somebody else do it. They had very similar results, although they had more people there than I did. I didn't do very
Right.
good marketing myself, probably because I had a vague offer. And then somebody else was like, "Hey, could we do that too?" And I did it with them, and they did well. And then so like the rest, as they say, is rock and roll history. But I found it was that there was an easier, more direct way to grow a business to actually help people with what you do without all the stress of sales calls, like
Right.
of like constantly grinding away to get onto sales calls and make it easier. And it kind of became like a playbook. I tell people oftentimes that FM7-8 changed my life. And people are like, what's FM7-8 if they're not Army or Marines? Well, FM7-8 is the rifle and infantry platoon tactics
Mm.
um, field manual, right? And it's literally in there. They tell you how to do recons. They tell you how to do different things. They have formations for. And I look at it this way. There's one in there called an L-shape ambush, right? And so it's just literally like you have an objective, like on a road, and here's how you set up your squad or your platoon to take that objective, right? I what became what I now call effectively, I call the one-day payday, is like the L-shaped ambush. And it's like, here are the parameters. If we follow these parameters, it will work. And now instead of a random stripe hit every week or so, right? Or, after however many calls you have, what if you had 5, 10, 15, 20 stripe hits for your offer all at once? And imagine again, if you're doing anything that is a premium value, that like it's $5,000 or $10,000, like imagine what it would be to make 5 of those sales all at once.
Mm.
And what that does for most business owners is it takes them out of the month to month cycle, because now you suddenly have cash on hand to reinvest in your business. And that's what happened to me. I was like, all of a sudden I had 5 clients. And now I have the ability to hire a VA or go invest in
Right.
myself with another program, or run ads if I want to run ads, right? And like completely change things. And it was super, super fun. So that was a little bit longer answer than I intended to go on, but
It's great.
that's where we are today. Is now since 2020, I have solely focused on helping people um, launch their businesses, scale their businesses, and have a heck of a lot more fun in their business because they're actually helping people do awesome things and they don't have to worry about like what happens if I don't make a sale this week. Right? Because now they have a way to bring people in that's not a sales call, there's no pressure, and it's just fun to do.
That's amazing. No, I love the fact that you went really into detail in that story. That's exactly actually what I wanted you to do. So, no worries there. Interesting enough, the title that we set for today's show, it's a very intriguing title. And the title is Three Lousy Shots and One Great Shot Still Makes Par. I find that very intriguing. So, why don't you share a little bit around that concept and that thought pattern? You know, three lousy shots, but you still make one, and it's par. Let's unpack that a little bit. What does that look like?
Well, so lots of times in most people with their business, like again, it's going to be very rare for somebody to just on their own decide to go into business and hit it out of the park right away.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time there are things you don't know, there's pitfalls, and it's a struggle, right? And there are the people who have had instant luck. Now, most of the times, if they've had instant luck, it's because they had the forethought to hire somebody to help them do it,
Right.
right? But most people, it takes them a few tries, right? Not every idea I have is an absolute winner, right? Even today, right? I'll put out things and go check my LinkedIn profile. Some of them get hits and I get lots of comments, and some of them get like none.
Right.
Right. And it's okay. It's all good. The internet, while it's forever, most people are forgetful.
And
And
one
it's
thing I want to interject here. So it's something that my coach told me in the very beginning, when she first started working with me. She reminded me, remember, it's not about the algorithm. It's not about Facebook algorithm. It's not about Instagram algorithm or LinkedIn. They don't they don't hold your success. And she was like, the one person that you need to worry about with algorithm is God. It's God's algorithm. He's going to bring you the people that he wants into your world. And that's the algorithm that we get to now rely on. That is a much better algorithm. Anyhow, continue.
and it's going to be the real resource anyway.
Yes.
Again, money it's made up, right?
Yes.
We put a lot of emphasis on it sometimes, but it's really not a real thing. Like it's just a piece of paper, right? Or
Yes.
a digital representation of value, right?
Right.
But it's not real, right? The real resource is above us, right? In many
Exactly.
ways. So you want to tap into that, but the idea is so that concept comes from Walter Hagen, who, for those who don't know, is a Hall of Fame golfer, right from a long time ago. He's since passed. And that was his philosophy in playing the game of golf. Now, and if you've never played, most people have probably tried or they've been to a driving range, right? It's not an easy sport to play.
Mm.
And it's a very unique sport in that there really is no opponent. You don't actually have opponents in golf. Like I'm not playing against Ken, right? I'm actually playing against myself when I play,
Ooh, powerful.
right?
Yes.
So Ken's what Ken does on the golf course has no bearing what I will do on the golf course. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like he's not playing defense against me. And so golf is very unique in that it's way more mental than it is physical. Now, there's a skill set, right? You can't like most people can't just pick up a club and just like be awesome. Like so there is a skill set that you develop, but rarely is the athleticism indicative of who's going to be successful in golf. It's really much more of a mental game. And so Walter was known for he would hit things like out of bounds, right? He would hit stuff into the rough. He would hit out of the bunker, right, all the time. But he had a philosophy of, well, if it takes four shots to make par, well, I can hit three really bad shots and one brilliant shot and still make par. I think
Mm.
most people think that their first couple lousy shots is indicative of who they are. Like, okay, so you failed, right? So you went belly up on a business, right? Does that mean your next business will? Right? Does your are you performance based? Like I was in sports, right? Is the fact that I missed a play, does that mean that's who I am?
Right.
Right? Or do you make the next play? Right? And so like I mean Warren Buffett, right, has the quote where like he won't invest in somebody else's business unless that business owner has failed twice,
Oh, wow.
right? Because you'll know what not to do, right? And so it makes sense to me because yeah, it's true. Like what happened yesterday has no bearing on today unless you let it. And here's the kicker. Sometimes, like the brilliant shot, you're leaving it in the bag. There's another way to do it. I was sitting there grinding away trying to get clients and hey, maybe by happenstance, maybe I was forced to do something a little bit different because of COVID, but I could have done that exact same play before COVID. I could have invited people to, I could have reserved a room somewhere or borrowed one,
Mm,
right? Like here in Austin, I can't tell you how many events I did where it was just in the back room at a restaurant, right? Like I knew how to go to those things. I could have done that. I could have done that exact same play and it would have converted. Maybe even better. Who knows? Right?
right.
But I was leaving it in the bag because I was resistant to different ways. And the truth is if you're not willing to do something different, then you're never going to get different results. Like the way you do business now, like working harder at that is not going to help you get better. You have to do something new and different. And that's why it's like if you run the right strategy, you're never like out. Like if I was down to like my last dollar
Mm,
today, like let's say I just made bad investments or had things go wrong. Hey, heck, maybe even if I'd run some things that just didn't pan out, that's okay. I can still go run the brilliant play. I can still go do the 1-day payday. I still go do it and see that come out at the end, and it's going to be okay because you'll move forward. The
yeah.
only people who fail are the ones who quit, right?
Amen to that. Yes.
And so don't quit. And there's always another way to do it. It just didn't work that way, right? It's Thomas Edison. I found 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb, right? Um,
So true.
right. That's the same thing. So it's like that. The reason for that is it's super easy to take the failures personally.
Hmm.
And the I'm not the end all be all expert of this, but I can tell you right now, like I had that happen to me, right? I'll share this story because this was really what led to me running the 2-day event. I was in a tough moment early COVID, right? Not knowing if I was going to be able to make payments on certain things.
Mm,
And I'd made some bad decisions. And my my mentor at the time who made the suggestion, like I was having a moment, and I am military. I'm raised in Texas. I'm a sports guy. Like I don't cry a lot. That's just not my way. I'm not very emotional, and I'm very linear thinking, right? So that doesn't ever be. But I was in a moment where like I was about to be in tears, you
mm,
know. And I was on the phone. We weren't on Zoom. But if we'd been on Zoom, or I'd been in front of him, this is what he would have done, and this is what he told me he would have done. Um, but he would have just like reached through and just like grabbed me like this. And we can do that. I don't know if this video will show, but if for those of you
no,
listening,
it's
like I'm
it's
like
it's gonna
this,
show.
like
Yeah.
yeah. So, but he would grab me and just like shake me and be like, "You're in the eye of the storm now." But honestly, how you feel about this has no bearing on what you need to do to fix it.
Wow.
Here's what you're going to go do. It will work. It will produce for you. And it's going to work because it's different than the way you've been doing it, which isn't working. And he's like, I know it will work because I've done it. And so it'll work for you. Here's the play. You've learned this. Go do it. And I went and did it, right? And leaned out totally like, hey, listen, worst case scenario is I have just as much as I came here with.
Right.
Right. And so, like, whatever, right? Caution to the wind. Do it, run the play, and life can change that way. Like, it just allows things to go differently, right? So, Dr. Benjamin Hardy wrote this book, 10x is easier than 2x. I don't know if you've ever heard about that
I think the only
or read that
reason
one.
I think you mentioned it on our pre-interview call. Um, and I think I said that it sounds familiar, but I don't think that book has ever come across my path. But I think I might have seen it somewhere or heard it somewhere.
Right. Well, imagine this concept, right? And I was actually having this, I was talking to somebody who was talking to me about like how muscle grows, right? And he was talking about like, hey, let's say you would do like a deadlift of like 225 pounds, and that's all you've ever done your whole life. If I suddenly just put on 405 pounds, like it would be impossible,
Mm,
right? Like you couldn't just outwork that, right? Like I can't just work harder. Like you have to build towards
right,
that
right.
way, and that takes a long time to do that, right? Because you have to slowly build the muscle such that you can now deadlift 405 pounds.
Hmm.
Makes sense, right? You can track that. Anybody who doesn't even know anything about health can track that, right? That's how it works. It's like, but in order to lift 405 pounds, I'd have to, from a place of I can only do 225, I'd have to do something radically different, right? Because if you are in the mindset of just work harder, like there's only so much you can do. So if I wanted to do it, could I set up a pulley system? Could I use a leverage point? And I could literally lift 405 pounds. I could take my 9-year-old son and he could lift 405 pounds if I put the right leverage in place for him. He could
Yes.
do it, but it would be radically different than just muscle your way through it. And it's the same thing in all of our lives. If you want things to change, you have to stop being the old version of yourself. You have to stop having the old version of your business and start doing a new version of business. And you have to make decisions from that place. I was doing things and saying, I'm going to grow my business one client at a time. That's what I'm going to change one life at a time. And there would be nothing wrong with that, right? That would be okay. But I wanted to really multiply. And so I went from what would it look like to get not one client per week, right? But one client per hour.
Oh, that's a total different mindset shift.
Right? What you would have to do something different. There's
Mhm.
a really easy example of this right now. Let me finish with Benjamin Hardy. So what he proposes, right, is that 10x is easier than 2x, right? Because if I want to take and double my business, right, or if I want to double my output, your natural tendency is going to be doing more of what you're already doing, right? But if I wanted to 10 times my business, like I would have this frame of what's possible and
Mhm.
10x wouldn't fit in it. I'd have to change the picture of what I focused on in order to hit that.
Right.
That makes sense. And there's actually a really good example. Um, they did that show a few years back, Undercover Billionaire, right? It was like a reality show. And the point of the show was they're going to take a billionaire, they're going to put him in some ratty clothing and send him to some place he's never been to. They give him $100, an assumed name, like a fake name. They give him a phone with no contacts in it and like an old truck, and they drop him in a town. And 90 days later, they have to have a business that's valued at $1 million. They can't use their name. They can't use any of their contacts. They can use their knowledge, sure, but they have to go build a business in this town that's worth $1 million by the end of it. They've had 4 people go through it. I don't know if they're going to continue to do this show, right? 3 of them hit in and around that 1 million. I think one person barely missed it. And then 2 others like kind of hit just over that. And then one person hit 5.5 million in 90 days. And I can tell you the one difference that person made. Now, yes, they were all in different cities. Yes, they all built different kinds of businesses, but they didn't have the idea before they got there. They built the business with the ideas that they got in town,
Mm.
right? So at least that's how that's proposed. The person who did the 5.5 million filmed his during COVID, during the onset of COVID, right? Got sent home for a couple of weeks, got COVID during it, and had to sit down for like 5 to 10 days while they were recovering in quarantine process, and still built a business 5 times the other ones. And I can tell you what the main difference is.
It was his
He was
mind.
aiming for 10.
Yeah, it was his mindset.
He was said, I'm going to build 10. And it wasn't even so much the mindset, it was the decision making process. Ken, if you were going to raise $1 million, you might do it one way. If you're going to raise $10 million, you have to do it a different way.
Mm-hmm. True.
I would make decisions differently based on the goal. And so because he was aiming differently, he couldn't do things the same way. Right. And that's what the difference is. And that's why I do what I do now. It's like, hey, let's just do things differently. Let's make it easier. That's like make it a structure that can be repeated.
I love that. I love that. I wrote down a couple of things that I wanted to share. So it's interesting, as you were talking about the times where people get set back, maybe they failed a whole bunch of times and different things like that. People do very much tend to lean in on those failures. And there is definitely an aspect of mindset in that, because to me that speaks of two different mindsets. You have the fixed mindset and you have the growth mindset. This is actually something that I teach each and every one of my clients. It's part of one of my main foundational pillars, is adapting into the growth mindset. See, you go on a journey, whether it's build a business, whether it's better health and zeroing in on your weight and stuff like that. In that journey, you're going to have points that you fall. You're going to have weak moments. You're going to fall off the horse. It's just human nature. But the difference on you moving forward is which mindset you're going to take with that. Are you going to totally focus on the failures over and over and over again and keep fixated on that? And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there with that kind of mindset. Those failures literally dictate their intelligence, and they let it dictate their intelligence, if you know what I mean. Rather, the vast difference with the person that has the growth mindset is, so not only is the person with a growth mindset fixated on the wins. So let's say a journey of 60 days, they fell off the horse 5 times. The fixed mindset person is fixated on those 5 times. The growth mindset person is fixated on the 55 days that they did not fall, plus those 5 times that they did fall, they use that as leverage. They use that as growth, learning points, as times to stretch and learn and re-strategize. What can I do better? What can I set in place next time? And different things like that. I think that's a really, really, really powerful thing to grasp onto, is that your failures don't define you. Rather, you use them as a tool to continue to grow and get better.
Right. Well, I think that the stories that we follow are better. That's why we resonate one to certain stories over others. Keep this in a sports context, right? This is why a lot of people see Michael Jordan as the pinnacle of success in basketball over LeBron James. Again,
Right.
both of them have had massive success and certainly have done lots of great things. They both earned a lot of money, but a lot of people see what Jordan did and watched him come over, be super, super talented, and run into the Boston Celtics and get beat, right? And then run into the Detroit Pistons and get physically beat, right? And then change the way he played basketball just a little bit and overcome in one setting where he overcame the Celtics, and then he beat the Pistons, and then he beat Magic Johnson and the Lakers, right? And it was like this ascension, right? That we go, oh, that's awesome. And he could have just let it go by the way, but that story, that growth story of making a subtle shift and realizing that it wasn't just him to do something, he had to involve his whole team. And again, doing something radically different because his mindset, his training, his foresight was, I'm going to go take this basketball and I'm going to go force it into the basket. I
Mhm.
will will it through there. But that didn't lead to winning. And so he had to make a little tiny shift. Sure, could he have complained? Could he have backed down? Could he have just said, this is too much for me? He could have, right? But he willed going forward. And that's who we all want to strive to be. There is a path forward, but if you what they say is like where focus goes, energy flows. Like if you're focused on failure, that's what you're gonna get.
Yes.
You're gonna get failure. Now, okay, I fell off the horse. Did I fall off the horse or did I learn a way not to stay on the horse?
That's a
Right?
great question. Yes.
Are you focused on the lesson or are you focused on the failure?
Mm,
Okay, I found one way. Listen, I could go back and look at mine. I marketed the heck out of my first event for weeks and I had 11 people show up. 11 for 2 days on Zoom, not knowing what I was doing, right? I could be like, oh, this sucks. I really thought I would have 100 people here. Or did I learn what happens when you have 11 people in the room? Did I learn what that was like? Did I learn what I didn't want to have happen in the next one? Like, how can I get better? That's what the winners do. They focus on the lesson of the failure as opposed to the experience of the failure.
exactly. That's where it becomes the tool. That's where it becomes the thing that you get to utilize. You get to, um, what's the word I'm looking for? You get to leverage. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah,
It,
you get to see like what's the wrong way, right?
yeah,
How can I get this better? How can I iterate? How can I make this better and better? For newsflash, if you're not already in business for yourself, you're not going to be amazing at first.
mm,
It's not,
mm,
right? You're going to get better at it, right? And that comes with repetition. That comes with learning how not to do it, right? Tiger Woods did not hit a hole in one on his first swing.
no,
You know what I mean? But he trained it and he gets better and better and better, right? Practice does not make perfect because you'd have to practice perfectly every single time, but practice can make better because you can figure out what not to do. And that's
absolutely.
that's where the winning happens. And that's why I love the mindset from Walter Hagen, right? To go back to our topic. Like, listen, go hit some lousy shots. It's okay.
Mhm.
Nobody's gonna care if you still make par.
The other thing around that kind of philosophy and mindset too is, I've heard the story told multiple times out there on focusing on the nose. But wait, hear me out on this. Go out. Here's the actual mindset around it. Go out and be determined to get as many no's as you can. You'll get it. You'll get those yeses, and those will bring you closer to the yes. But it's just intriguing, that mindset shift.
Right. Well, it's a stat. It's like, so if you focus on the one no, let me pose it this way. You're not going to get infinite no's. There's not, because everybody here knows you're going to learn, right?
Yes.
So let's say you're going to go and you're going to do, I don't know what you do. Like maybe you do direct outreach to people, right? And that's a way that you do business, right? Can I take the first person, maybe the first person tells you to go pound sand, right? And you're like, well, that sucks. And then, okay, let's just say you have the courage and you go and you do it again and they ghost you. And then you do it again and they say no thanks. And then they do it again and the next person tells you that you're scum of the earth
Mm,
and you're a terrible person and you should never do this. And they threaten to report you or something, even if you're just actively trying to sell a product or service that can help people, right? I don't know why people act that way, but people do crazy things on the internet, right? Whatever.
right.
Because it has happened. And I say that from experience. I've had people tell me I'm just going to be in the deep before. And so it's okay, right? It's all good. But let's just imagine I quit right then. I have my list of the next people I was going to reach out to, but I just say, you know what? To heck with it. Well, what if the next person was the one that was going to say yes? And it would have radically changed their lives. And it would change the lives of the people they're connected to. Right?
Mm,
It's the way I look at it. Right? When I have an opportunity to set up a deal and help somebody run what I do, like I know they're going to use that to go help other people. And then those people might go help other people, and those people might help other people. And if I chose to stop, right before it would have gotten better. And listen, some people go, yeah, but what if it never gets better? Well, it will get better because you're not going to like suck forever. You're training it. You're going to be good. But if you quit, you're doing a disservice to the people that you can help.
Mm,
And it's right there. Like you don't know. Most people aren't overnight successes. They actually have trained quite a bit and they learned what to do and then they found the success. We don't see the journey. It's not as public like it is with Michael Jordan, right? But you got to go do it. Sometimes it'll happen early, sometimes it'll happen late. For me, it took years.
yeah. The other thing I want to add to that is it's like you fall 3 times, get back up 4. You fall 8 times, get back up 9. You fall 20 times, get back up 21 times. Always, always get back up. It's vitally important. I can't tell you how many times since 2020, when I launched my own brand and company, how many times I got discouraged, how many times I'm just like, when is my first client going to come? Oh my gosh, Lord, when are you going to bring it? But I kept grinding. I kept going. I kept going. And I kept going. I kept learning. I kept tweaking. I kept learning. Now I have a global client base. That's also in part because I also have a good coach. And that's a whole nother story. I've been through some other coaches that weren't so good. And I kind of got burnt out on that for a while. And then God brought me to the coach that I have now. And it's like, boom. And even though right now I'm like in a place to where I'm going, wow, this is great. I love this. I never thought that this was going to happen. Now she's taking me to the next level. Now we're building my elite package and what that's going to look like. And so now it's just like going to the next level. And I'm kind of sitting here. I'm almost like deja vu going, okay, what is this going to look like? I'm a little nervous and I'm going deja vu when I first started. This is how I'm feeling now. So I feel like I'm now on a different level plane, starting brand new, but from up here. Does that make sense on what I'm trying to say?
Well, it's a principle. It's a principle of growth. There's a law of advancement. I think I learned this from Myron Golden, right?
Yes. Love
At
Myron
least
Golden. My gosh.
that's who I think I learned this from. I might be attributing it wrong, but
I was actually going to
right,
ask you if you're connected to him. Love him. Love this stuff.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Um, what he proposes, like, so like there's a law of like there's a principle to everything, and I've always thought about this too. Like, take this to the corporate world, right? The way you get a job when you're entry level is the same way you get a job when you're C-level.
Mm,
Like the same process happens. It's just at a different communication level, right? And so like I still have to get my resume in order. I still have to go present myself. I have to interview, right? I have to have a conversation that, and so the C-levels that might not be called an interview, right? But it
right.
still is an interview, right? Um, and you have to go through that process. You have to present it, and then you negotiate the terms, and you go forward. Now, some of those processes feel a little easier than the other, but the principle is the same. Like it will always be that you'll always have to present yourself for the right opportunity, and you will compete, and they'll make a selection, and that's how it works. And that's kind of like just a principle in what it is. It's just a different way of doing it. There is a principle in growth that is similar to the law of gravity, but it's like the inverse, right? The law of gravity states what goes up must come
Down.
down, right? The law of advancement is what goes up must first go down.
Mm, mm. I had to think about that for a minute. It makes sense.
I did this. I actually had a coaching group that I was leading. This is similar to, this was a different coaching group from when I was, but I remember being in this group and there was this young lady who was a teacher, and she was trying to um, kind of grow her career at that point. That's why she had joined the program, and she was really trying to figure out like what she wanted to do and build on that. And she decided that she could no longer be a teacher, and she had to go get something else. And she comes to one of our group calls. We're going to do one of her sessions, and she's normally super cheerful. She's like you, Ken, where she's like always got a smile and
Oh,
everything's
thank you.
okay, and it's like the sunny position, right? And I don't know, she's maybe like 27 or something like that. And she comes to the call, and I can kind of tell she looks like she's going to cry. And I kind of let it go for a minute. And then like we're kind of going on a room. There's only like six people in this room, right? So it's hard to kind of hide in that, right?
Right.
And so I finally kind of stop and I go like, hey, her name was Julie. I was like, hey, Julie, are you okay? Right. And she just kind of at that point, she kind of let it go. She was like, well, I just found out, she like again, I say she was a teacher, right? And teachers don't make a ton of money, right?
Yeah.
So this is, I'm sure, part of the thing, but she just needed to pivot. She goes, I just found out that my rent's going to go up $500 a month.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know what I'm going to do, right? Like I just don't have that. I don't know what to do. Now she is already early in the process and we'd already helped her with her branding and stuff. And she was already kind of getting things out there. But like you can imagine, like that's coming up and it's like this new stress. And for her, it might have been $20,000 a month, right? Like that's what $500 a month meant to her. And I don't want to dismiss that, but for her, that's what it felt like. And she was just in tears. And I kind of talked her through this idea of the law of advancement, like I'm sharing with you right now. And I said, hey, Julie, I want to run in a quick exercise with you. Um, just want to help you, right? And just understand that like everything's going to be okay for one, right? And we're here to support you and we're going to get you into action and we're going to help solve this. But while we're doing that, I'm going to talk to you about this law of advancement. Could you do me a favor? Could you stand up, right, on the Zoom? Would you be able to do that for a minute? She said, yeah. And I said, okay, cool. I want you to imagine that you could dunk a basketball. Show us what it would look like for you to dunk a basketball.
Oh, interesting.
And so she did it, but she didn't do it quite right. Right. Here's what she did. So imagine I'm standing. I'm not standing right now, but she just went like this. She just took her hands up and went like that. And I said, "That's not how you would dunk a basketball.
I don't
You're
play
not set.
basketball, and I know that
Yeah,
that's not even right.
yeah. You're not taller than 10 feet where you could just do that and dunk a basketball, right? Because
Yeah.
basketball, it's 10 feet up in the air. Show us what it would look like to dunk a basketball. And we did this iteration a little bit, and finally she did it. Right? She went like this, and she jumped up there and did it. And I was like, did anybody see what she did? And they were like, well, she jumped up in the air. She really threw it back. And I was like, no, 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 no. She bent down. She bent down first before she could jump up.
Interesting.
Have you ever seen a plane take off, Ken? You ever watch the planes take off? Remember when we could do that at the airport, right?
I
You ever
do.
watch a plane take off?
Yeah.
Watch a Boeing take off, or go watch a video on YouTube if you can't get to where you can see one. Right before it leaves the ground, the wings down.
I never
Sometimes
actually noticed that.
they go down before they go up.
But now that you've mentioned it, I can see that now. Interesting.
Before a tree can grow 100 feet tall, you put it in the ground.
Yes.
Before your money can grow,
It
you
has to
invest it.
die
Your
first.
bank account goes down before it goes up.
The seed that goes in the ground has to die first before.
Before you change, before
Yes.
you become the best version of yourself, you have to actively remove the old one.
Yeah.
It's like the old episode of Seinfeld, right? Independent George cannot exist, right, with the other one. Right now, that was played for comedy, but it's the same way. And I said, Julie, I know you're feeling this way right now, and I understand, right? You're in that moment of the law of advancement right now, and the way you're feeling right now, if it's on me right now, that's the other side telling you to quit. This is the moment where you're shaped. And for me, that's the devil. The devil's telling you to stop right now because he knows that you invested in this program to better yourself. And he's trying to help you come up with reasons to quit. This is too hard. I can't afford this. I can't do these things. So I want you to be encouraged that you're in the place that you need to be. And we're going to focus here and we're going to move you forward. We're going to get you into action. Now, we did some other things, but that's the law of advancement. 6 weeks later, well, actually, no, it wasn't six. Yeah, it was 6 weeks later. She got a job and then further negotiated where she ended up doubling her salary and she got a $7,000 signing bonus in her dream position.
Law. Wow.
I had her on at the next call and I was like, hey, we're so excited for Julie. This is something that she's accomplished. We're sharing this win. And she shares all about how it went for her and she's sharing with the group. And at the end of it, I said, "Hey, Julie, you remember 6 weeks ago you were on the call and you were about to cry over $500 a month?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "How do you feel about that now?" And she was like, "It doesn't even matter." It's like, yeah, okay, that's trying to stop you. Like, it's okay. We're gonna get there. We're gonna go forward. Things went down a little bit, but now we're up. It's just part of the process, right? And that's the way we do things. I'm actually having a lot of fun with this conversation. It's not as strategic as we're talking, but like this is where it's at right here. So
This is, yeah, I'm loving this. Yeah, no, I agree. It's flowing really. I'm just loving this. I do have a question for you though.
sure.
So, and I think this is really important also to talk about as well. So, you've worked with veterans, coaches, entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
What common three lousy shots do you see people making over and over in sales? And how can they fix them? How do you teach them how to fix them?
Okay. Well, when it comes to sales, it really depends on the concept of how they're doing it, right? So most of the time they have an offer misalignment.
Mhm.
That could be one. Two, they talk too much during a sales conversation, right?
Mm, yes.
Um, or they're trying to have a sales conversation to begin with. And that would probably be the biggest one. That's what I used to do.
What does that look like, having a sales conversation to begin with? What is
They're
that?
having any kind of sales conversation, like it's a sales call, right? Or
Okay.
they're doing a sale, they're having a sales,
Like
yeah,
it's
I would just say
actually
like
a
a sales
sales
call.
call. Gotcha. Okay.
Like, hey, I'm on the phone with you to see if you want to buy my product or service,
Right,
right?
right.
Now, this is a little bit different if you're a sales rep, right? Again, chances are if you're a sales rep for somebody, it's because you talk too much is the biggest issue, right? Chances are that's what it is. Um, But if you have your own business, if you have your own offer, if you have your own way of helping people, the challenge that you're probably having and the tweak that you need to make is you need to stop having sales calls altogether.
Hmm.
That's why I do event-based selling because it's no longer a sales call.
Throw everything
I
together.
what
Yeah.
we do is like, why don't we deliver? And it was exactly what happened for me, and I didn't know this is what I was doing when I did it, but I was delivering a client-like experience to my prospects, quote unquote. Here's what it's going to be like to work with me. And by the end of that time together, which doesn't happen in a 45-minute initial call,
Mm-mm.
right? Is I could say, hey, if you've enjoyed this, if you know there's a next step for you, I invite you. Here's my offer to you. And you can be a part of it if you would like. Here's how you do it. Now, the other advantage is I got 5 yeses. Let's not talk about the 6 people who said no, who
Um,
moved on and did something different.
right. Oh, you get five
That's
yeses.
okay.
You're not going to be focused on the six anyhow.
Right. But let's just say I had 100 people there and only 5 people said yes. Right. That would be a low closing rate. And okay, there's some things that we could tweak. Okay. Right.
I'm
Maybe
still
there's
going
a
to be
number of things
excited
that could,
about the five, though.
but you got 5 people that said yes to
Right.
you today. Right. Are you going to focus on the 95 people that said no?
So,
No. But if you do individual sales calls, at the end of the day, you go tell the boss or you go talk to your wife, man, I did 10 sales calls today and nobody said yes. Only one person moved forward.
hmm.
Right? I had to hear no or not right now or maybe later or let me talk to somebody else 10 times. When you have the proper sales presentation, and I wouldn't even call it a sales presentation, that's why we do events because they're experiences and
Yes.
it's the immersion that creates the conversion. They have to immerse themselves in your world, right? To build that know, like, and trust with you.
Hmm.
But they also have to transform themselves, right? The person that says yes to like a coaching offer or a consulting offer or an agency offer is likely not the person that they entered the room as. I kind of look at it this way, like Everybody is in pain, right? Ken, you're a weight loss expert.
Yep.
When you have a sales call with somebody, 100% of the market that is interested in weight loss is in pain.
Yes.
They're in pain of some kind. Only, but 70% of them, the bulk of them, that's all they are. They just know they're in pain. They don't yet know what the problem is.
Hmm.
And about 20-25% of the remainder, right, also knows the problem. And about 5% know the solution. And only 1% of that entire whole is actually committed to solving the problem and following a solution. They're just looking for somebody to help them to do it.
Yeah.
And what most high ticket or premium sales experiences are, they go, man, I closed 3 out of 5 today. Chances are they got lucky and they had a lot of people who were solution or committed aware that day. And then tomorrow they'll have 10 people who said, let me think about it,
Yeah.
because they're in pain. And 45 minutes is not enough to take someone from pain to problem to solution to committed. They have to have that transformation of the person who's committed to solving it. And that's why we do live events where it's like we're going to spend half a day, a full day, multiple days with these people, show them what can happen, because they themselves have to transform into the person that can get the result. They have to see that. And they just cannot do that in a 45-minute webinar or a 10-minute VSL or a 2-page Google Doc.
The
Right.
two-page Google Doc stuff. Oh my gosh.
Right. And I see people out there, and listen, and there's AI, this, that, and the other. And I'm telling you, embrace AI, use it for what it is, but there will never be a replacement for being a real human that can actually show somebody how you can
Amen.
help
Thank
them.
you for saying that.
And so, and listen, I will say this as somebody who specializes in virtual events, and I like virtual events because you can reach people all over the world all at once. There's no replacement for being in the room with that person who knows what they're doing, right? And he can actually help you, right?
Yeah.
A stage is always going to be better. Go ask theater people, what's better, going to the movies or going to a live play? Right? It's always going to be live. That's always going to be better, right? I can go on YouTube right now and watch all kinds of motivational speeches. You know what's better? Being in the room when they give that speech. It just feels different. But in lieu of that, like, be a real human. Like, that's where it is, and there will be no replacement for that. Every day there's a new AI expert that wants to sell some AI thing, right? And they're
Oh
probably not even
yeah.
really talking to you.
Yep.
In the age of AI, be a human. And there's no better way to be a human than to actually care about the people that you can help, to show them that you can help them by spending more time with them and helping them achieve their own transformation. And sure, if you want to do that as a business as well, absolutely make an invitation. But it's so much more fun. And even if nobody says yes to you, if you've done your job the right way, they will leave that event saying this was amazing, and they'll come back. And that's why it's fun to do it this way. And again, costs you the same amount of time, so it's no big deal.
It's
Right.
it's so huge. Really, really good stuff with our conversation today. I'm almost hesitant to like start wrapping things up, but you realize we've almost gone for about an hour here. Like this,
Yeah, in the interest of everybody's various time, absolutely. And there's more, and
time
I'd be
goes
happy
like
to come
this.
back on
Yeah.
again. Right. So,
So here's the last question I want to ask you in wrapping up, my friends. And like I said, I don't want to wrap up, but it's like crazy. Um, the last question I want to ask you is what are 3 to 5 powerful things you would like to leave the audience with today, or the listener, whoever that is? What would you like to leave them with today?
yeah, I don't even know that I want to make it 3 to 5 things. I want to make it one thing.
Cool. Go for it.
And we'll say one thing that can lead into another. But I'll be honest with you, the title of this episode, right? 3 lousy shots and 1 brilliant shot still makes par.
Hmm.
Listen, I believe this biblically, but you can think of it in the universe however you want to say this. But We learn through pain, right? God teaches us through pain and discipline.
Yeah.
Uh, and listen, whatever your moment that you're going through is, like, I understand. Like we've been there. Ken's probably been in some moments like that. I know I have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that feeling doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And I mean that in the nicest, friendliest way I can. It really doesn't matter because you can solve the problem. You have a brilliant shot in your bag. It's out there. Nobody will care how you started if you finish well. Nobody will. I one of my favorite all-time favorite seasons of sports was the year that Tim Tebow started in the NFL. And for those of you who don't know, Tim Tebow was a very famous college quarterback. But everybody, all the experts said he couldn't throw a football. He wasn't accurate enough to play. But he had this aura about him that was like he was just a football player. And he was a lightning rod. Fans loved him. And, he only played one season, really, in the NFL. But he got an opportunity, however it happened, about 5 games into an NFL season to be the starter for the Denver Broncos. They were 1-4 when he took over as a starter. They finished 8-5, won their division, and then a playoff game. He was also known for not being very accurate, and he would be kind of not good until the last 5 minutes of a game.
Mm.
They have a measurement for quarterbacks called QBR. It's like QB rating that measures all of your impact on the game.
Right.
He rated highest in the NFL that included Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. I don't know if Brett was still playing. Brett might have still been playing. Maybe Aaron Rodgers was there, right? Like Hall of Fame level people. He led the league in QBR in the last 5 minutes of games. And he won their division and he even won a playoff game doing that. Does anybody care that he wasn't good for 3 quarters? Does his team care if they win the game? They won the game. You can absolutely win the game. It's still there for you. And my next point is that, like, listen, I don't care if you've never had a business or you currently have one. The world needs what you alone have to offer.
Yes.
And I think that you owe it not not to everybody else. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to God to go and multiply that. Go do it. There is a way to do that, and it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to be like me and learn for multiple years before it works. Right.
Mm.
And again, I'm not the end all be all. Certainly go find somebody that can help you. But there is a way that you can get that in front of people and it can be fun and you can absolutely have an impact on the world. And I encourage you to go do that. And your failures are part of the process. And I encourage you to share that story. That's part of it, and people need to hear it.
That is
That's my ending message for everybody.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So powerful, you guys. You know what? To you who are listening here, there have been a lot of gold nuggets dropped on this particular interview, this conversation. There's a lot of treasure in there. So here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. I'm going to encourage you to get into Justin's world. Below this video is going to be his bio as well as links to connect with him. And I'm also going to give him the chance to actually talk about his links and how to get into his world. But that's also going to be in the description below, you guys. And I encourage you, get in his world, connect with him. If this is something that you want to move forward on, connect with him. He's got a lot to offer. So, Justin, how can people get into your world if they want to connect with you and start working with you?
Yeah. So the best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I don't discriminate. If you send me a connection request, I will accept it. And so feel free to connect with me over there. Also, you can find me on at thechargeforward.com. Or if you want to learn more about how you can have a 1-day payday, as I call it, where you can leverage what you have to give and do that without having to grind away. You can go find some free resources over there, or there's a spot to see if you're ready for that. If we can help you to do that, we'd be more than happy to do it. And also, Ken, if it's okay, if I don't mind a plug, we are actually in the middle of doing a launch for a podcast. It'll probably be out by the time this episode rings. So We are doing what's called the Mission to Profit podcast. So we're meeting with other veteran entrepreneurs to show, veterans and other mission minded and purpose driven people, like how they can monetize their expertise and the different ways to do that. Again, as much as I love to tout what I can do, there are others out there. So head over to missiontoprofit.com and you can check out those episodes when they launch.
Awesome. Awesome. You guys, like I said, get into Justin's world, connect with him. I think I know him well enough by now to know that I can say this confidently. He's not going to hard sell you. He's going to take the time and get to know you and work with you. So get into his world, connect with him, even if it's just get on a call with him and kind of discuss the strategy. Just do it. Just connect with him. So anyhow, lastly, you guys, maybe this is your first time watching anything from me and you're kind of like wondering, okay, that's great. Well, who's this Ken guy? What does he do? Well, long story short, I've lost 62.5 pounds and I've kept it off for 7+ years now, all without a diet and having that be sustainable. And right now, the opportunity is right now I'm giving away my 3 secrets to help you to lose weight, feel energized, and get healthy without starving or dieting. Yes, no more diets. No more. It ends here with me. I have a mini educational bootcamp series in which, with 3 one-on-one sessions with me, I expose the 3 biggest lies that are keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how that industry makes money. And I show them how they can fuel their body God's way and break free and keep the weight off for life sustainably and without a diet like I have. And so the link to join that mini educational bootcamp is also going to be in the description below here. So it's going to be below all of Justin's stuff. You'll get down there and you'll see a few links to get into my world. And one of them is to join this mini educational bootcamp. Reasonably priced. You have nothing to lose but those extra pounds. You have everything to gain in the right way. And so get into my world that way. There's other links down there to connect with me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, connect with me on Facebook, all the things. So with that, do you have any last minute thoughts, Justin, before we call it a day here with our interview?
Never too late. Like I said, don't worry about what's gone wrong. There's a way forward for you. Again, like, get that brilliant shot out there. It's not doing any good in your bag, so get it out there.
Amen. Amen. All right, you guys. Well, that concludes another expert interview with Ken. Have a great rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world and what time of day you are listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Talk to you guys later.